Hello, guys. Welcome back to Corey Enlisted. I'm Corey's wife, Nicole, as you may remember. So, let's see if I can keep this going. I would like to review a Netflix movie called Last Christmas that was written by George Michael, Emma Thompson, and Greg Wise. And the director was Paul Feig, which sounds super familiar. Should have looked up what other movies he did. I was going to, and then I forgot because children. So let's see if I can keep this going as well as Corey does. The movie stars a young starlet named Emilia Clarke, and Emma Thompson plays her mother, and the father is played by Boris Izakovic. I probably butchered that name. And her love interest is played by Henry Golding. What else did I want to talk about? The budget was $25 million, and worldwide the movie earned $123 million, and in the U.S. box office alone it earned $35.2 million, and the rating is PG-13. It's considered a Christmas movie, comedy, drama, fantasy, romantic comedy, etc. So, of course, you know I was going to be interested in it because it is in the genre of romantic comedy. Let's see how long I can talk while these kids are clamoring. I told them I was going to be in here, but of course they're going to find something they need. Guys, I'm doing a review. Can you play for a bit? Zachary? Go play for a bit. He's fine. So the IMDb rating on this is 6.5 out of 10. Let's see what the Rotten Tomatoes was. An abysmal 46% for the critic score, and the viewer score is actually way better at 81%. So I really wanted to talk to someone about this movie. I watched it alone over the course of 2 evenings while wrapping Christmas gifts. And I have to say that the beginning towards almost the very end of the movie was pretty riveting. Maybe that's an extreme word. It was pretty interesting, intriguing, and kept me wanting to come back for more. I don't know, maybe it was riveting. I was really excited to get all the children, to sleep the second night and watch the rest to see what the conclusion of the movie was going to be. But then I was pretty disappointed in the ending. So this is going to include spoilers because I have a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack here. So first, let's go into just the synopsis of the movie. So it centers on Kate. She's a young Londoner woman who works in a Christmas shop that is open all year round. Her boss is nicknamed Santa, and she's a Chinese, I believe, woman. She's Asian. And she just loves all things Christmas, but she gets more and more annoyed with Kate because Kate has been having a lot of issues since having a really big health scare. We end up finding out that she had a heart transplant, and so she had taken leave and had this illness, and then when she comes back, things go from better to worse because now her mother, Kate's mother, was used to caring for her and getting a bunch of attention from like the hospital staff and doctors and things, and then without that attention, her mother doesn't really have anything going on anymore, and just gets more and more paranoid. They immigrated from former Yugoslavia, so they speak English, but they also speak Croatian, and the mother watches the news a lot and feels paranoid about people turning against their family and turning against their people because of where they're from. And so she's afraid they're going to be sent back and that sort of thing. And then her father used to be a lawyer in the former country, but over here he's a minicab driver, and he tends to stay out all night and stay away from the mother as much as possible because the mother is kind of overbearing, and she's a big worrier, and she just gabs a lot, and he doesn't want to be talked to or bothered, basically. You like my Scrabble mug? Side note, thrift store. We love Scrabble in this family. But that's neither here nor there. There's no Scrabble in this movie. So, anyways, to continue. So the main character, Kate, while she has this scar from this heart transplant and she's kind of coping with that idea and getting used to having this new heart, she also is going out every night, drinking, and just starts the movie off. She's making bad decisions, you know, sleeping with someone that she just met, and you know, crashing at his place because she's burned bridges with all of her friends and doesn't have anywhere to stay and doesn't want to live with her parents anymore because of the overbearing mother and the strain with the parents and their marriage, and just different issues at home. So she's looking for a friend and looking for some place else to live and just looking for a more stable situation. And while she enjoys working at the Christmas shop, and she did do well there at first, her boss lets her know that, hey, like, you've been doing worse and worse as far as the quality of your work, and like, you're not as good of an employee as you used to be. And her boss ends up telling her, like, I'm going to give you one more chance or you're going to be fired, basically. So she's got a lot of issues going on, and she's pretty unhappy and pretty unsettled in her life. And that's when she meets Tom. He's just this really sweet guy played by Henry Golding. Golding? I think it's Golding. It's spelled Golding. But anyways, he just kind of rides up on his bike, and he's outside of the shop, and she and him just kind of bump into each other, and then he asks if he can go on a walk with her, and her life's just not going well, and she doesn't feel like she's really attracted to him anyways, so she tells him, like, you're not really my type. So then, but there is some type of a chemistry there. So then later they happen to bump into each other again, and she's kind of like, are you following me type of thing. And at the same time, she's doing all these auditions because she's a really good singer, and her mother is also a good singer. So it kind of runs in the family, but she hasn't had success with any of her auditions. She hasn't landed any parts, so she's feeling disappointed in that. So then they end up seeing each other all the time. He ends up bumping into her a lot. And then it's to the point where she wants to be able to get in contact with him, so she asks him if he has a phone number or some way to reach him, and he informs her that his phone is locked in a cupboard, and so she has no way to contact him. So, and he just kind of frames it as, you should get off your phone and be outside in nature more and enjoy your real life. And he always says this phrase also, which is, look up. So, anyway, this movie was really cute. He had some really sweet date ideas. There was one part that she really wanted where it would involve her ice skating, and she didn't know how to ice skate at all. So they snuck into this ice skating rink after hours, and he surprised her with that. She was trying to get the part of one of the princesses in the movie or the play Frozen, and so, but it was an ice skating play, and so they're ice skating around, and you know, it's romantic and everything until they get caught. And then in another part of the film, he shows up after being missing for several days, and of course she has no way to contact him. And he says, you know, we're going home, and so he takes her to his apartment, and nothing real salacious happens. He just kind of holds her on the floor while she's having a mental breakdown, basically telling him her whole life story, and then you really don't learn anything new about him. He doesn't seem to have a job, although at one point he does say that he works as some type of a nighttime delivery driver, because he just tell her, you know that I work nights. So there is that. And then he also supposedly volunteers at like a soup kitchen type of establishment for people who are homeless and kind of down on their luck in the community. And then that kind of, because he is supposedly there somewhere in the facility, it gets her interested in going there, and then she starts to meet some of the people, and she really likes the people who volunteer there and wants to help, and so it kind of gets her out of her funk of just like being on her own and going and getting drunk and spending her nights at the bars and ending up at strangers, flats or whatever. This is set in London, so anyways, the movie was just really good, like I said, and pretty engaging, and you wanted to know what was going to happen with their budding romance. And then at the same time, there's also another romance starting with the Santa character, the lady who owns the Christmas shop, and this stranger who comes in, this older gentleman who they just kind of lock eyes and just get along very well. And she just calls him boy, which is kind of funny. But, and then the relationship between her and her boss, Santa, does kind of evolve, and they get to be just genuine friends, and it's sweet to see that too. So it was actually just very disappointing for me personally. I know people have mixed feelings, but the ending was just very disappointing. Spoiler alert, stop watching now if you don't want to wreck the ending. But it ends up, and it makes sense once you really think about it, and I'll explain, but the Tom character, he was becoming her boyfriend basically, and he ended up being a ghost. So yes, it shows that how she finds out. Sorry, I'm just rambling on. See, this is what I need, Corey, but she's looking for him because she hasn't seen him in days and days, and she really misses him, and of course she can't contact him because his phone's locked in a cupboard, as he said. So then she goes to his flat, his apartment, and there's a real estate agent there, and she's like, okay, what the heck's going on? And he's talking about, oh good, like you're here to see the apartment and it's for sale and stuff. And then he opens a cupboard, and there's a phone in there that's dead, and he says, oh, it's this, and she's like, oh, that must be Tom's phone, and she's kind of laughing. She's like, it literally was locked in the cupboard, like, no wonder it's dead, I'll make sure that he gets it. And then the real estate agent says, you'll make sure who gets it? And she says, well, Tom, of course, he must be the one selling the apartment. And then he says, no, like, this apartment's been vacant for about a year, ever since the owner died. And she's like, what? And then he says, yeah, this is the guy's last name, and then it's the same last name as the Tom guy. So then she's like, oh my gosh. And then you realize, as it's showing on the screen, her like being laid out on a stretcher, and she's going to the hospital to get this transplant, that on the same night that happened, he was hit by a bus and killed, and he was an organ donor. So yes, she ended up with the heart of Tom, her almost boyfriend, and they had even kissed at that point a couple times. So how you kiss a ghost and feel him there with you, I don't know. I guess it's just, that's why it's a fantasy movie, I guess. And she had seen him like right before she found out all of this news, and he had told her, like, you can't depend on me. So you're like, really, as a viewer, you can't depend on him? I mean, that was not what she needed. There were already so many people in her life that she felt like she couldn't depend on. Her older sister was like always mad at her, and ends up that she's a lesbian and is hiding it from the family because she doesn't want them to disapprove. And so she's not really in her life, and her parents are pretty unstable, and then she can't find a stable boyfriend, and then she finds an amazing guy, and guess what? He's a ghost, okay? He is a freaking ghost.